we talked about after the disappointing game Sunday against Ottawa, but Friday was probably the biggest win of the season in my estimation. Overtime, come from behind win. They flew that morning. Little did they know that Dallas had an extra heads up optional practice the day before. Wild got up at 5:30, flew at 7 a.m. the day of, like a show and go, like junior. And Dallas coach Pete DeBoer let it slip in a scrum innocuously that they had an optional skate the day before during Christmas break, which is a big no-no on the CBA. And now some fans are like, hey, what's the big deal about this? Like, they had an optional skate, maybe they had a half hour. Like, what's the biggest thing? But I think, Mike, both you and I agree, and I think a lot of NHL teams agree, that it's a bigger deal than probably people think.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of NHL teams that were upset about this. And I agree, like, in the grand scheme of things, who cares? But the rules are the rules. And the biggest part of the rule is the fact, and that I'm sure really bothered the NHLPA, is that when you have a practice that's an optional, that Pete DeBoer made clear the young guys know they're supposed to be at, you're also telling these guys that they can't leave town during the Christmas break. Like you know what I mean? Like part of the 3 days is that a lot of these guys leave. They go home to their families and things like that. Well, those guys usually come back to the 26th at night, or they're allowed to fly back as long as they're at the morning skate on their own dime, and as long as they're there by the 27th. So you are essentially saying to these guys, you got to stay in town because we are having this optional practice. The other thing is that coaches run the ice. So on the 23rd, the NHL sent out a memorandum to all 32 general managers that reminded of the rules of what restricted days are. And one of the things that I didn't realize at the time is that you can't even wink, hey, we're making ice available to you. It's up, if you want to use it, you could have it. I always thought that was allowed. It's not allowed. If Jared Spurgeon wanted to be like, hey guys, I'm renting some ice over at Braemar. If you want to come, you can come. That's fine. But the Wild were not allowed to say to the players, hey, a tree is going to be open if you want it. They're not allowed to do that. And so, Dallas screwed up in myriad ways here. One, they had the coach on the ice, but two, just the ice being available. So very bizarre that Pete just brought it up. Like nobody would have known. This would have, if Pete didn't volunteer it to the media. It was an innocuous question by a reporter that actually works for the Stars about Maverick Bourque, and next thing you know, he's telling, we had an optional yesterday, and I saw this guy there, this guy there, this guy. I mean, this is crazy.
Is this the first time that Pete DeBoer has lost in the media when it's related to the Wild?
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I think what it tells you is it's probably not the first time he's even done this. I mean, right. So again, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. But the rules are the rules. This is negotiating the collective bargaining agreement. These are 3 supposedly full days off, and they broke the rules. And it's also a big FU to the league because they put out this memo that the day before the break started. So and it is a competitive disadvantage in a league where you can easily miss the play. I mean, heck, what was it? 2006, I think it was. The Wild missed the playoffs by 1 point to the Vancouver Canucks, to somebody. And what was the big difference in that season? A shot actually by Pascal Dupuis in Vancouver went over the goal line. It would have been the winning goal, and all of a sudden the league somehow found it like a minute later after play resumed, and the Wild wound up missing they would have won that game. The Wild wound up missing the playoffs by 1 point. It happens. And so when the Wild have to get their guys out of bed at 5 a.m. to fly down 2.5 hours on a game day to play a game, everything should be on the up and up. And I think the Wild were upset about it when this came to their attention in the third period that night, and that's why the league investigated it. And I don't think it was much of an investigation. So at some point here, I got to think that they're going to be dinged with a fine. And the big question I have is Pete DeBoer also dinged with some sort of punishment as well? Because this is different than the other experiences where teams flew on the day before and the organization alone was fine. This was, a coach that held a practice when he had to know after 17 years coaching in this league that you weren't allowed to practice.